The initiation of chosen individuals into the secrets of the gods had marked the beginning of priesthood, the lineages of mediators between the gods and the people, the transmitters of the divine words to the mortal earthlings. Oracles, interpretations of divine utterances, were commingled with the observation of the heavens for omens. And as mankind was increasingly drawn to take sides in the godly conflicts, prophecy began to play a role. Indeed, the term to denote such spokesmen of the gods who proclaimed what was to come, Nabi, was the epithet for Marduk's firstborn son, Nabu, who had tried, on behalf of his exiled father, to convince mankind that the heavenly signs bespoke the coming supremacy of Marduk. These developments sharpened the realization that one must distinguish between fate and destiny. The proclamations of Enlil, sometimes even of Anu, that used to be unquestioned, were now subjected to the scrutiny of the difference between Nam, a destiny, like the planetary orbits, whose course had been determined and was unchangeable, and Nam.tar, literally, a destiny that could be bent, broken, changed, which was fate. Reviewing and recalling the sequence of events, and the apparent parallelism between what had happened on Nibiru and what took place on Earth, Enki and Enlil began to ponder philosophically what indeed was destined and could not have been avoided, and what was just fated as a consequence of right or wrong decisions and free choice. The latter could not be predicted, the former could be foreseen, especially if all, as the planetary orbits, was cyclical, if what was shall again be, if the first things shall also be the last things. The climactic event of the nuclear desolation sharpened soul-searching among the leaders of the Anunnaki, and raised the need to explain to the devastated human masses why it came to pass this way. Was it destined, or was it just the result of an Anunnaki-made fate? Was anyone responsible? Is there someone accountable? In the councils of the Anunnaki, on the eve of the calamity, it was Enki who stood alone in opposition to the use of the forbidden weapons. It was thus important for Enki to explain to the suffering remnants how that turning point in the saga extraterrestrials who had meant well but ended as destroyers had come to pass. And who but Ea, Enki, who was the first to come and an eyewitness to it all, was most qualified to tell the past so that the future could be divined? And the best way to tell it all was as a first-person report by Enki himself. That he had recorded his autobiography is certain, for a long text, stretching over at least 12 tablets, discovered in the library of Nippur quotes Enki as saying, "When I approached Earth, there was much flooding. When I neared its green meadows, heaps and mounds were piled up at my command. In a pure place I built my house. An appropriate name I gave it." The long text continues to describe how Enki then assigned tasks to his lieutenants, putting their mission to Earth in motion. Numerous other texts that relate varied aspects of Enki's role in the ensuing developments serve to complete Enki's tale. They include a cosmogony, an epic of creation, at whose core lay Enki's own text, which scholars call the Eridu Genesis. They include detailed descriptions of the fashioning of the Adam. They describe how other Anunnaki, male and female, came to Enki in his city Eridu to obtain from him the ME, a kind of data disk that encoded all aspects of civilization. And they include texts of Enki's private life and personal problems, such as the tale of his attempts to attain a son by his half-sister Ninhursag, his promiscuous affairs with both goddesses and the daughters of man, and the unforeseen consequences thereof. The Atrahasis text throws light on Anu's efforts to prevent a flare-up of the Enki-Enlil rivalries by dividing Earth's domains between them. And texts recording the events preceding the deluge render, almost verbatim, the debates in the Council of the Gods about the fate of mankind, and Enki's subterfuge known as the Tale of Noah and the Ark. A tale known only from the Bible, until one of its original Mesopotamian versions was found in the tablets of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Sumerian and Akkadian clay tablets, Babylonian and Assyrian temple libraries, Egyptian, Hittite and Canaanite myths, and the biblical narratives are the main body of written down memories of the affairs of gods and men. For the first time ever, this dispersed and fragmented material has been assembled and used by to recreate the eyewitness account of Enki, the autobiographical memoirs and insightful prophecies of an extraterrestrial god. Presented as a text dictated by Enki to a chosen scribe, a book of witnessing to be unsealed at an appropriate time, it brings to mind instructions to the prophet Isaiah 7th century BC. Now come, write it on a sealed tablet, as a book engrave it, let it be a witnessing until the last day, a testimony for all time. Isaiah 38. In dealing with the past, Enki himself perceived the future. The notion that the Anunnaki, exercising free will, were masters of their own fates as well as the fate of mankind, gave way in the end to a realization that it was destiny that, when all was said and done, determined the course of events, and therefore, as the Hebrew prophets had recognized, the first things shall be the last things. The record of events dictated by Enki thus becomes a foundation for prophecy, and the past becomes the future. Now this is the account of the prior times, and of the weapons of terror. Before the prior times was the beginning, after the prior times were the olden times. In the olden times the gods came to earth and created the earthlings. In the prior times none of the gods was on the earth, nor were the earthlings yet fashioned. In the prior times the abode of the gods was on their own planet. Nibiru is its name. A great planet, reddish in radiance, around the sun an elongated circuit. Nibiru makes. For a time in the cold is Nibiru engulfed, for part of its circuit by the sun. Strongly is it heated. A thick atmosphere Nibiru envelops, by volcanic eruptions constantly fed. All manner of life this atmosphere sustains, without it there will be only perishing. In the cold period the inner heat of Nibiru, it keeps about the planet, like a warm coat that is constantly renewed. In the hot period it shields Nibiru from the sun's scorching rays. In its midst rains, it holds and releases, to lakes and streams giving rise. Lush vegetation our atmosphere feeds and protects, all manner of life in the waters and on the land to sprout it caused. After eons of time our own species sprouted, by our own essence and eternal seed to procreate. As our numbers grew, to many regions of Nibiru our ancestors spread. Some tilled the land, some four-legged creatures shepherded. Some lived on the mountains, some in the valleys their home made. Rivalries occurred, encroachments happened, clashes occurred, sticks became weapons. Clans gathered into tribes, then two great nations each other faced. The nation of the north against the nation of the south took up arms. What was held by hand to thrusting missiles was turned, weapons of thunder, and brilliance increased the terror. A war, long and fierce, engulfed the planet, brother amassed against brother. There was death and destruction both north and south. For many circuits desolation reigned the land, all life was diminished. Then a truce was declared, then peacemaking was conducted. Let the nations be united, the emissaries said to one another. Let there be one throne on Nibiru, one king to reign over all. Let a leader from north or from south by lot be chosen, one king supreme to be. If he be from north, let south choose a female to be his spouse as equal queen, to reign alongside. If by lot a south male be chosen, let the north's female be his spouse. Husband and wife let them be, as one flesh to become. Let their firstborn son be the successor. Let a unified dynasty thus be formed. Unity on Nibiru forever to establish. In the midst of the ruins, peace was started. North and south by marriage were united. The royal throne into one flesh combined, an unbroken line of kingship established. The first king after peace was made, a warrior of the north he was, a mighty commander. By lots true and fair was he chosen, his decrees in unity were accepted. For his abode he built a splendid city, Agade, unity meaning, was its name. For his reign, a royal title he was granted, and it was, the celestial one was its meaning. With strong arm order in the lands he re-established, laws and regulations he decreed. Governors for each land he appointed, restoration and reclamation was their foremost task. Of him in the royal annals, thus it was recorded, and the lands unified, peace. On Nibiru he restored. He built a new city, the canals he repaired, food to the people he provided. There was abundance in the lands. For his spouse the south a maiden had chosen, for both love and warring she was noted. Antu was her royal title. The leader who is An's spouse, the given name. Cleverly did mean. She bore 3 sons and no daughters. The firstborn son was by her, named Ante. By a solid foundation was its meaning. Alone on the throne he was seated, a spouse to choose was twice postponed. In his reign, concubines were brought into the palace, a son to him was not born. The dynasty thus begun was by the death of Anki disrupted, on the foundation no offspring followed. The middle son, though not the firstborn, the legal heir was pronounced. From his youth, one of 3 brothers, Eb by his mother was lovingly called. The one in the middle his name did mean. By the royal annals Anib, he is named in kingship celestial by generations, the one who is An's son the name signified. He followed his father An on Nibiru's throne, by count he was the 3rd to reign. The daughter of his younger brother he chose to be his spouse, Ninib. She was called, the Lady of Ibi. A son to Anib by Ninib was born. The successor on the throne he was, the 4th by the count of kings, by the royal name Anshagal. He wished himself to be known, An's prince. Who is greatest of princes was the meaning. His spouse, a half-sister, Kishar.gal, was equally named. Knowledge and understanding were his chief ambition, the ways of the heavens he assiduously studied. The great circuit of Nibiru he studied, its length a Shah to be he fixed. As 1 year of Nibiru was the measure, by it the royal reigns to be numbered, and recorded. The Shah to 10 portions he divided, 2 festivals thereby he pronounced. When nearest to the sun's quarters, a festival of the warmth was celebrated. When to its far abode Nibiru was distanced, the festival of coolness was decreed. Replacing all olden festivals of tribes and nations, to unify the people the 2 were established. Laws of husband and wife, of sons and daughters, by decree he established. Customs from the first tribes he proclaimed for the whole land. From the wars females greatly outnumbered males, decrees he made, 1 male to have more than 1 female for knowing. By law, 1 wife as official spouse to be chosen, first wife to be called. By law, the firstborn son was his father's successor. By these laws confusion soon came about, if the firstborn son not by the first wife was born, and thereafter by the first wife a son was born, by law the legal heir. Becoming who shall be the successor, the one by the count of Shah's firstborn, the one by the first wife born, the firstborn son, the legal heir, who shall inherit, who shall succeed. In the reign of Anshagal, Kishagal as first wife was pronounced. A half sister of the king she was. In Anshagal's reign, concubines were again brought into the palace. By the concubines, sons and daughters to the king were born. A son by one was the first to be born, the son of a concubine was the firstborn. Thereafter Kishagal bore a son. The legal heir by law he was, the firstborn. He was not. In the palace Kishagal raised her voice, in anger shouting, If by rules my son, by a first wife born, from succession shall be barred, let the double seed not be neglected. Though of different mothers, of one father the king and I are offspring, I am the king's half-sister, of me the king is half-brother. By that my son the double seed of our father Anub possesses. Let henceforth the law of the seed, the law of espousal overpower. Let henceforth a son by a half-sister, whenever born, above all other sons rise. To succession. Anshargal, contemplating, the law of the seed embraced with favor, confusion of spouse and concubines, of marriage and divorce, by it would be avoided. In their council, the royal councillors the law of the seed for succession, adopted. By the king's order, the scribes the decree recorded. Thus, the next king by the law of the seed for succession was proclaimed. To him the royal name Anshar was granted. Fifth on the throne he was. Now this is the account of the reign of Anshar and the kings who followed. When the law was changed, the other princes were contending. Words there were, rebellion there was not. As his spouse Anshar, a half-sister chose, he made her first wife by the name Kishar, she was called. Thus was by this law the dynasty continued. In the reign of Anshar, the fields diminished their yields, fruits and grains lost abundance. From circuit to circuit, nearing the sun heat grew stronger. In the faraway abode, coolness was more biting. In Agaday, the throne city, the king those of great understanding assembled. Learned savants, those of great knowledge to inquire were commanded. The land and the soil they examined, the lakes and streams they put to this test. It has happened before, some gave an answer, Nibiru in the past colder or warmer has grown, a destiny it is, in the circuit of Nibiru medded. Others of knowledge, the circuit observing, Nibiru's destiny to blame did not consider. In the atmosphere a breaching has occurred, that was their finding. Volcanoes, the atmosphere's forebears, less belching was spitting up. Nibiru's air has thinner been made. The protective shield has been diminished. In the reign of Anshar and Kishar, pestilences of field made appearance, toil could them not overcome. Their son Enshar. Then the throne ascended, of the dynasty the sixth he was. Lordly master of the Shah the name did signify. With great understanding he was born, with much learning he mastered much knowledge. To remedy the afflictions ways he sought, of Nibiru's heavenly circuit he made much study. In its loop, of the sun's family 5 members it embraced, planets of dazzling beauty. For cures to the afflictions, their atmospheres he caused to be examined. To each he gave a name, ancestral forefathers he honored, as heavenly couples he them considered. An and Antu, the twin-like planets, he called the first 2 to be encountered. Beyond in Nibiru's circuit were Anshar and Kishar, in their size the largest. As a messenger Gaga among the others coursed, sometimes first Nibiru to meet. 5 in all were Nibiru's heavenly greeters, as the sun it circled. Beyond, like a boundary, the hammered bracelet the sun encircled, as a guardian of the heaven's forbidden region, with havoc it protected. Other children of the sun, 4 in number, from intrusion the bracelet shielded. The atmospheres of the 5 greeters Enshar set out to study. In its repeating circuit, the 5 in Nibiru's loop carefully were examined. What atmospheres they possessed by observation, and with celestial chariots, intensely were examined. The findings were astounding, the discoveries confusing. From circuit to circuit Nibiru's atmosphere more breaching suffered. In the councils of the learned, cures were avidly debated, ways to bandage the wound were urgently considered. A new shield to embrace the planet was attempted, all that was thrust up back to the ground came down. In the councils of the learned, the belching volcanoes were studied. The atmosphere by belching volcanoes having been created, its wound by their diminished belching had come to be. Let with invention new belching be encouraged, let volcanoes spew again. One savants group was saying, how the feat to achieve, with what tools more belching to attain, none the king could inform. In the reign of Enshar, the breach in the skies grew bigger. Rains were withheld, winds blew harder, springs from the depths did not arise. In the lands there was an accusation, the breasts of mothers were dry. In the palace there was distress, an accusation therein took hold. As his first wife, Enshar a half-sister did espouse, by the law of the seed, abiding, Nin Shah. She was called, of the Shahs the lady. A son she did not bear. By a concubine to Enshar a son was born, the firstborn son he was. By Nin Shah, first wife and half-sister, a son was not brought forth. By the law of succession, the concubine's son the throne ascended, the seventh to reign he was. Duduru was his royal name. In the dwelling place fashioned was its meaning. In the house of concubines, not in the palace, was he indeed conceived. As his spouse a maiden from his youth beloved Duru chose, by love, not by seed. A first wife he selected. Daru was her royal name. She who is by my side was the meaning. In the royal court confusion was rampant. Sons were not heirs, wives were not half-sisters. In the land suffering was increasing. The fields forgot their abundance. Among the people fertility was diminished. In the palace fertility was absent. Neither son nor daughter was brought forth. Of An's seed, 7 were the rulers. Then of his seed the throne was dry. Dauru, a child at the palace gateway found. As a son she embraced him. Duru in the end as a son him adopted. Legal heir him decreed. Lahma, meaning dryness, was his given name. In the palace the princes were grumbling. In the council of counselors there were complaints. In the end, Lama the throne ascended. Though not of An's seed he was the 8th to reign. In the councils of the learned, to heal the breach there were 2 suggestions. One was to use a metal, gold was its name. On Nibiru, it was greatly rare. Within the hammered bracelet it was abundant. It was the only substance that to the finest powder could be ground lofted. High to heaven. Suspended it could remain. Thus, with replenishments, the breach it would heal, protection make better. Let celestial boats be built, let a celestial fleet the gold to Nibiru bring over. Let weapons of terror be created, was the other suggestion. Weapons that the ground shake loose, the mountains split asunder, with missiles the volcanoes to attack, their dormancy to bestir, their belching to increase, the atmosphere to replenish, the breach to make disappear. For a decision Lama was too feeble. What choice to make he knew not. 1 circuit Nibiru completed, 2 Shahs Nibiru to count continued. In the fields, affliction was not diminished. By volcanic belching the atmosphere was not repaired. A 3rd Shah passed, a 4th was counted. Gold was not obtained. In the land strife was abundant. Food and water were not abundant. In the land unity was gone, accusations were abundant. In the royal court, savants were coming and going, counselors were rushing in and rushing out. The king to their words paid no attention. Counsel from his spouse he only sought. Lahama was her name. If destiny it be, let us beseech the great creator of all. To the king she said. Beseeching, not actings, provide the only hope. In the royal court the princes were aster. At the king accusations were directed, foolishly, unreasoning. Greater calamities instead of cure he brought forth. From the olden storehouses weapons were retrieved, of rebellion there was much speaking. A prince in the royal palace was the first to take up arms. By words of promise, the other princes he agitated. Alalu was his name. Let Lama be the king no more, he shouted. Let decision supplant hesitation. Come, let us unnerve the king in his dwelling. Let him the throne abandon. The princes to his words gave heed. The gate of the palace they rushed, to the throne room. Its entrance restricted, like onrushing waters they went. To the tower of the palace the king escaped. Alalu was him pursuing. In the tower there was a struggle. Lahma fell down to his death. Lahma is no more, Alalu shouted. The king is no more, with glee he announced. To the throne room Alalu rushed. On the throne he himself seated. Without right or counsel, a king he himself pronounced. In the land unity was lost. Some by the death of Lahma rejoiced, others by Alalu's deed were saddened. Now this is the account of the kingship of Alalu, and of the going to earth. In the land unity was lost. About the kingship many were aggrieved. In the palace, princes were agitated. In the council, councillors were distraught. From father to son, succession from and on the throne continued. Even Lahma, the eighth, by adoption a son was proclaimed. Who was Alalu? Was he a legal heir? Was he firstborn? By what right did he usurp? Was he not a king's slayer? Before the seven who judge Alalu was summoned, his fate to consider. Before the seven who judge, Alalu spread his pleas, though neither legal heir nor a son firstborn. Of royal seed indeed he was. Of Anshagal am I descended, before the judges he claimed. By a concubine my ancestor was to him born, Alam was his name. By the count of Shahs, Alam was the firstborn, the throne to him belonged. By conniving, the queen his rights put aside. A law of the seed from naught she created, for her son the kingship obtained. Alam of kingship she deprived, to her son instead it was granted. By descent of Alam's generations am I continued, the seed of Anshagal is within me. The seven who judged to Alalu's words gave heed. To the council of councillors they pass the matter, truth or falsehood to ascertain. The royal annals from the House of Records were brought forth with much care they were read. An and Antu the first royal couple were. 3 sons and no daughters to them were born. The firstborn was Anki. He died on the throne. He had no offspring. The middle son in his stead the throne ascended. Anib was his name. Anshagal was his firstborn. The throne he ascended. After him on the throne kingship by the firstborn did not continue. The law of succession by the law of the seed was supplanted. A concubine's son was the firstborn. By the law of the seed of kingship he was deprived. The kingship instead to Kishagal's son was granted, her being a half-sister of the king was the reason of the concubine's son, the firstborn. The annals made no record of him. I am descended. Alalu to the councillors cried out. By the law of succession, to him kingship belonged. By the law of succession, to kingship am I now entitled. With hesitation the councillors of Alalu an oath of truth demanded. Alalu swore the oath of life or death. As king the council him considered. They summoned the elders, they summoned the princes. Before them the decision was pronounced. From among the princes a young prince stepped forward about the kingship. Words he wished to say. Succession must be reconsidered, to the assembly he said. Though neither firstborn nor by the queen a son, of pure seed am I descended. The essence of an in me is preserved, by no concubine diluted. The councillors heard the words with amazement. The young prince to step closer they summoned. They asked for his name. It is Anu, after my forefather, and am I named? They inquired about his generations. Of An's 3 sons he them reminded. Anki was the firstborn. Without son or daughter he died. Anib was the middle son. Instead of Anki the throne he ascended. Anib the daughter of his younger brother took to be wife from them onward. The succession is in the annals recorded. Who was that younger brother, a son of an Antu, one of purest seed? The counselors with wonderment looked at each other. Enuru was his name. Anu to them announced, "He was my great ancestor." His spouse Ninuru was a half-sister, her son was firstborn, Enama was his name. His wife was a half-sister, by laws of seed and succession, a son she bore him. Of pure descent the generations continued, by law and by seed perfect. Anu, after our forefather An, did my parents name me. From the throneship we were removed, from An's pure seed we were not removed. Let Anu be king, many counselors shouted. Let Alalu be removed. Others cautioned did counsel. Let strife be prevented. Let unity prevail. They called in Alalu, the discovered findings to be told. To the prince Anu, Alalu his arm in embrace offered. To Anu he thus said, "Though by different offsprings, of one ancestor we are both descended, let us live in peace, together Nibiru to abundance return. Let me keep the throne, let you keep the succession." To the council words he directed, "Let Anu crown prince be, let him be my successor. Let his son my daughter espouse, let succession be united." Anu bowed before the council. To the assembly he thus declared, "Alalu's cupbearer I shall be, his successor in waiting, a son of mine, a daughter of his as bride shall choose." That was the council's decision. In the royal annals it was inscribed. In this manner, Alalu on the throne remained seated. He summoned the sages, savants and commanders he consulted, for deciding. He gained much knowledge. Let celestial boats be constructed, he decided. To seek the gold in the hammered bracelet, he decided. By the hammered bracelets the boats were crushed, none of them returned. Let with weapons of terror the bowels of Nibiru be cut open. Let volcanoes again erupt, he then commanded. With weapons of terror skyborne chariots were armed, with terror missiles. From the skies were volcanoes struck. The mountains swayed. The valleys shuddered as great brilliances with thunder exploded. In the land there was much rejoicing, of abundance there were expectations. In the palace, Anu was for Alalu the cupbearer. He would bow at Alalu's feet, set the drinking cup in Alalu's hand. Alalu was the king, Anu as a servant by him was treated. In the land rejoicing receded, rains were withheld, winds blew harder, the belching by volcanoes did not increase, the breach in the atmosphere did not heal. In the heavens Nibiru its circuits kept coursing, from circuit to circuit heat, and cold grew harder to suffer. The people of Nibiru ceased to revere their king, instead of relief, misery he caused. Alalu on the throne remained seated. The strong and wise Anu, foremost among the princes, was standing before him. He would bow to Alalu's feet, set the drinking cup in Alalu's hand. For 9 counted periods, Alalu was king on Nibiru. In the 9th Shah, Anu gave battle to Alalu. To hand-to-hand combat, with bodies naked, Alalu he challenged. "Let the winner be king," Anu said. They grappled with each other in the public square. Doorposts trembled and walls shook. Alalu bent his knee, to the ground he fell on his chest. Alalu in combat was defeated. By acclaim Anu was hailed as king. Anu to the palace was escorted. Alalu to the palace did not return. From the crowds he stealthily escaped. Of dying like Lama he was fearful. Unbeknownst to others, to the place of the celestial chariots he hurriedly went. Into a missile-throwing chariot Alalu climbed, its hatch behind him he closed. The 4-part chamber he entered, the commander's seat he occupied. That which shows the way he lit up, with bluish aura the chamber filling. The firestones he stirred up, their hum like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened, a reddish brilliance it was casting. Unbeknownst to others, In the celestial boat Alalu from Nibiru escaped. To snow-hued earth Alalu set his course. By a secret from the beginning he chose his destination. The second tablet. Synopsis of the second tablet. Alalu's flight in a nuclear-armed spacecraft. He sets his course to Ki, the seventh planet Earth. Why he expects to find gold on Earth, the solar system's cosmogony, Tiamat's water and gold. The appearance of Nibiru from outer space, the celestial battle, and Tiamat's breakup. Earth, half of Tiamat, inherits her waters, and gold Kingu, Tiamat's main satellite, becomes the moon of Earth. Nibiru is destined to forever orbit the sun. Alalu's arrival and landing on Earth. Alalu, discovering gold, holds Nibiru's fate in his hands. A Babylonian depiction of the celestial battle. To snow-hued Earth Alalu set his course. By a secret from the beginning he chose his destination. To regions forbidden Alalu made his way. No one has gone there before. No one at the hammered bracelet a crossing had attempted. A secret from the beginning. Alalu's course has determined the fate of Nibiru. In his hands it placed, by a scheme his kingship to make universal. On Nibiru exile was certain, there death itself he was chancing. In his scheme, risk was in the journey, eternal glory of success was the reward. Riding like an eagle, Alalu the heavens scanned. Below, Nibiru was a ball in a voidness hanging. Alluring was its figure, its radiance emblazoned the surrounding heavens. Its measure was enormous, its belchings fire blazed forth. Its life-sustaining envelope, its hue a redness, was like a sea churning. In its midst the breach was distinct, like a darkened wound. He looked down again. The wide breach turned into a small tub. He looked again. Nibiru's great ball turned into a small fruit. The next time he looked, in the wide dark sea Nibiru disappeared. Remorse the heart of Alalu grasped. Fear held him in its hands. Decision to hesitation turned. To halt in his tracks Alalu considered. Then from audacity to decision he returned. 100 leagues, 1,000 leagues the chariot was coursing, 10,000 leagues the chariot was journeying. In the wide heavens darkness was the darkest. In the faraway distant stars, their eyes were blinking. More leagues Alalu travelled. Then a sight of great joy met his gaze. In the expanse of the heavens, the celestial's emissary was him greeting. Little Gaga, the one who shows the way, by its circuit Alalu was greeting. To him a welcome extending. With a leaning gait, before and after the celestial Antu it was destined to travel. To face forward, to face backward, with two facings was it endowed. Its appearance as first to greet Alalu as a good omen he at once considered, by the celestial gods he is welcomed. So was his understanding. In his chariot Alalu followed Gaga's path. To the second god of the heavens, it was directing. Soon celestial Antu, its name by King Enshar was given. In the deeps, darkness was looming. Blue as pure waters was her hue. Of the upper waters she was the commencement. Alalu by the sight's beauty was enchanted. To course at a distance he continued. In the far beyond Antu's spouse began to shimmer. By size Antu's the equal, as his spouse's double. By a greenish blueness was undistinguished. A dazzling host encircled it on its side. With firm grounds they were provided. To the two celestials Alalu bade a fond farewell. The path of Gaga still discerning. The way it was showing to its olden master, of whom it was once the counselor, to Anshar, the foremost prince of the heavens. The course was a turning. By the speeding chariot, Alalu the ensnaring pull of Anshar could tell. With bright rings of dazzling colors the chariot it was enchanting. His gaze Alalu to one side quickly turned. That which shows the way with might he diverted. A sight most awesome then to him appeared, in the faraway heavens the family's bright star he discerned. A sight most frightening the revelation followed, a giant monster, in its destiny moving, upon the sun a darkening cast Kishar. Its creator, swallowed. Frightening was the occurrence, an evil omen, Alalu indeed thought. The giant Kishar, foremost of the firm planets, its size was overwhelming. Swirling storms obscured its face, colored spots they moved about. A host beyond counting, some quickly, some slowly, the celestial god. Encircled, troublesome were their ways, back and forth they were surging. Kishar itself a spell was casting, divine lightnings it was thrusting. As Alalu looked on, his course became upset, his direction was distracted, his doings became confused. Then the deepness darkening began to depart, Kishar on his destiny continued to circuit. Slowly moving, its veil from the shining sun it lifted. The one from the beginning came fully into view. Joy in Alalu's heart was not long-lasting. Beyond the fifth planet the utmost danger was lurking, so indeed he knew. The hammered bracelet ahead was raining, to demolish it was awaiting. Of rocks and boulders was it together hammered, like orphans with no mother they banded together, surging back and forth, a bygone destiny they followed. Their doings were loathsome, troubling were their ways. Nibiru's probing chariots like preying lions they devoured, the precious gold, needed for surviving, they refused to dislodge. The chariot of Alalu toward the hammered bracelet was headlong moving, the ferocious boulders in close combat to boldly face. Alalu the firestones in his chariot more strongly stirred up, that which shows the way with steady hands he directed. The ominous boulders against the chariot charged forward, like an enemy in battle attacking. Toward them Alalu, a death-dealing missile from the chariot let loose, then another and another against the enemy the terror weapons he thrust. As frightened warriors the boulders turned back, a path for Alalu granting. Like by a spell the hammered bracelet a doorway to the king it opened. In the dark deepness Alalu, the heavens could clearly see. By the bracelet's ferocity he was not defeated, his mission was not ended. In the distance, the sun's fiery ball its brilliance was sending forth, welcoming rays toward Alalu it was emitting. Before it, a red-brown planet on its circuit was coursing, the sixth in the count of celestial gods it was. Alalu could but glimpse it, on its destined course from Alalu's path it was. Quickly moving. Then snow-hued earth appeared, the seventh in the celestial count. Toward the planet Alalu set his course, to a destination most inviting. Smaller than Nibiru was its alluring ball, weaker than Nibiru's was its attracting net. Its atmosphere thinner than Nibiru's was, clouds were within it swirling. Below, the earth to three regions was divided, snow white at the top and on the bottom, blue and brown in between. Deftly Alalu spread the chariot's arresting wings around the earth's ball to circle. In the middle region dry lands and watery oceans he could discern. The beam that penetrates downward he directed, earth's innards to detect. I have attained it. Ecstatically he shouted, gold, much gold, the beam has indicated, it was beneath the dark-hued region, in the waters it was too. With pounding heart Alalu a decision was contemplating, shall he on the dry land his chariot bring down, perchance to crash and die? Shall he to the waters his course direct, to perchance into oblivion sink? Which way shall he survive? Will he the treasured gold discover? In the eagle's seat, Alalu was not stirring. To fate's hands the chariot he entrusted. Fully caught in earth's attracting net, the chariot was moving faster. Its spread wings became aglow, earth's atmosphere like an oven was. Then the chariot shook, emitting a mortifying thunder. With abruptness the chariot crashed, with a suddenness altogether stopping. Senseless from the shaking, stunned by the crash, Alalu was without moving. Then he opened his eyes and knew he was among the living. at the planet of gold he victoriously arrived. Now this is the account of the earth and its gold. It is an account of the beginning, and how the celestial gods created were. In the beginning, when in the above the gods in the heavens had not been called into being, and in the below key the firm ground had not yet been named, alone in the void there existed Apsu, their primordial begetter. In the heights of the above, the celestial gods had not yet been created. In the waters of the below, the celestial gods had not yet appeared. Above and below, the gods had not yet been formed, destinies were not yet decreed. No reed had yet been formed, no marshland had appeared, alone did Apsu reign in the void. Then by his winds the primordial waters were mingled, a divine and artful spell Apsu upon the waters cast. On the void's deep he poured a sound sleep, Tiamat, the mother of all, as a spouse for himself he fashioned. A celestial mother, a watery beauty she was indeed. Beside him Apsu little Mumu then brought forth, as his messenger he him appointed, a gift for Tiamat to present. A gift resplendent to his spouse Apsu granted, a shining metal, the everlasting gold, for her alone to possess. Then it was that the two their waters mingled, divine children between them, to bring forth. Male and female were the celestials created, Lahmu and Lahamu by names. They were called. In the below did Apsu and Tiamat make them an abode. Before they had grown in age and in stature, in the waters of the above, Ansha and Kisha were formed, surpassing their brothers in size they were. As a celestial couple the two were fashioned, a son. An, in the distant heavens was their heir. Then Antu, to be his spouse, as An's equal was brought forth, as a boundary of the upper waters their abode was made. Thus were three heavenly couples, below and above, in the depths created. By names they were called, the family of Apsu with Mumu and Tiamat. They formed. At that time, Nibiru had not yet been seen, the earth was not yet called into being. Mingled were the heavenly waters, by a hammered bracelet they were not yet separated. At that time circuits were not yet fully fashioned, the destinies of the gods were not yet firmly decreed. The celestial kinfolk banded together, erratic were their ways. Their ways to Apsu were verily loathsome. Tiamat, getting no rest, was aggrieved and raged. A throng to march by her side she formed, a growling, raging host against the sons of Apsu she brought forth. With all 11 of this kind she brought forth, she made the firstborn, Kingu, chief among them. When the celestial gods of this did hear, for counsel they rallied. Kingu she has elevated, to rank as and command to him she gave. To each other they said, a tablet of destiny to his chest she has attached, his own circuit to acquire. To battle against the gods her offspring Kingu she instructed. Who shall stand up to Tiamat? The gods asked each other. None in their circuits stepped forward, none a weapon for battle would bear. At that time, in the heart of the deep, a god was engendered, in a chamber of fates, a place of destinies was he born. By an artful creator was he fashioned, the son of his own son he was. From the deep where he was engendered, the god from his family in a rushing departed, a gift of his creator, the seed of life, with him away he carried. To the void he set his course, a new destiny he was seeking. The first to glimpse the wandering celestial was the ever-watchful Antu. Alluring was his figure, a radiance he was beaming, lordly was his gait, exceedingly great was his course. Of all the gods he was the loftiest, surpassing theirs his circuit was. The first to glimpse him was Antu, her breast by child never sucked. Come, be my son. She called to him, let me your mother become. She cast her net and made him welcome, made his course for the purpose suited. Her words filled the newcomer's heart with pride, the one who would nurse him made him haughty. His head to doubled size grew larger, 4 members at his sides he sprouted. He moved his lips in acceptance, A godly fire from them blazed forth. Toward Antu his course he turned, his face to and soon to show. When An saw him, my son, with exultation he shouted, to leadership you shall be consigned, a host by your side will be your servants. Let Nibiru be your name, as crossing forever known. He bowed to Nibiru, turning his face at Nibiru's passage. He spread his net, for Nibiru 4 servants he brought forth, his host by his side to be, the south wind, the north wind, the east wind, the west wind. With joyful heart and to Anshar his forebear the arrival of Nibiru announced. Anshar upon this hearing, Gaga, who was by his side, as an emissary sent forth words of wisdom to and deliver, a task to Nibiru to assign. He charged Gaga to give voice to what was in his heart, to and thus say, Tiamat, she who bore us, now detests us. She has set up a warring host, she is furious with rage. Against the gods, her children, 11 warriors march by her side. Kingu among them she elevated, a destiny to his chest she attached without right. No god among us against her venom can stand up, her host in us all has fear. Established, let Nibiru become our avenger. Let him vanquish Tiamat, let him save our lives. For him decree a fate, let him go forth and face our mighty foe. To Ngaga departed, he bowed before him, the words of Anshar hey, repeated. And to Nibiru his forebears' words repeated, Gaga's message to him, he revealed. To the words Nibiru with wonder listened, of the mother who would her children devour with fascination he heard. His heart without saying, to set out against Tiamat him already prompted. He opened his mouth, to an Ngaga he thus said, if indeed I am to vanquish Tiamat your lives to save, convene the gods to assembly my destiny proclaim supreme. Let all the gods agree in council to make me the leader, bow to my command. When Lamu and Lahamu heard this, they cried out with anguish. Strange was the demand, its meaning cannot be fathomed. Thus they said, the gods who decree the fates with each other consulted, to make Nibiru their avenger they all agreed. To him an exalted fate decreed. From this day on, unchallengeable shall be your commandments. To him they said, no one among us gods shall transgress your bounds, go Nibiru be our avenger. They fashioned for him a princely circuit toward Tiamat to proceed. They gave Nibiru blessings, they gave Nibiru awesome weapons. Anshar 3 more winds of Nibiru brought forth, the evil wind, the whirlwind, the matchless wind. Kishar with a blazing flame filled his body, a net to enfold Tiamat therewith. Thus ready for battle, Nibiru toward Tiamat directly set his course. Now this is the account of the celestial battle, and how the earth had come to be, and of Nibiru's destiny. The Lord went forth, his fated course he followed, toward the raging Tiamat he set his face, a spell with his lips he uttered. As a cloak for protection he the pulsar and the emitter put on. With a fearsome radiance his head was crowned. On his right he posted the smiter, on his left the repeller he placed. The 7 winds, his host of helpers, like a storm he sent forth, toward the raging Tiamat he was rushing, clamoring for battle. The gods thronged about him, then from his path they departed, to scan Tiamat and her helpers alone he was advancing, the scheme of Kingu, her host's commander, to conceive. When he saw valiant Kingu, blurred became his vision, as he gazed upon the monsters his direction was distracted, his course became upset, his doings were confused. Tiamat's band tightly her encircled, with terror they trembled. Tiamat to her roots gave a shudder, a mighty roar she emitted, on Nibiru she cast a spell, engulfed him with her charms. The issue between them was joined, the battle was unavoided. Face to face they came, Tiamat and Nibiru, against each other they were, advancing. They for battle approached, they pressed on for single combat. The Lord spread his net, To encompass her he cast it. With fury Tiamat cried out. Like one possessed she lost her senses. The evil wind, which had been behind him, Nibiru drove forward, in her face he let it loose. She opened her mouth the evil wind to swallow, but could not close her lips. The evil wind charged her belly. Into her innards it made its way. Her innards were howling, her body was distended, her mouth was open wide. Through the opening Nibiru shot a brilliant arrow, a lightning most divine. It pierced her innards, her belly it tore apart, it tore into her womb, it split apart her heart. Having thus subdued her, her life breath he extinguished. The lifeless body Nibiru surveyed, like a slaughtered carcass Tiamat now was. Beside their lifeless mistress, her 11 helpers trembled with terror. In Nibiru's net they were captured, unable they were to flee. Kingu, who by Tiamat was made the host's chief, was among them. The Lord put him in fetters, to his lifeless mistress he bound him. He wrested from Kingu the tablets of destinies, unrightly to him given, stamped it with his own seal, fastened the destiny to his own chest. The others of Tiamat's band as captives he bound, in his circuit he them ensnared. He trampled them underfoot, cut them up to pieces. He bound them all to his circuit. To turn around he made them backward to course. From the place of the battle Nibiru then departed, to the gods who had him appointed the victory to announce. He made a circuit about Apsu. To Kishar and Anshar he journeyed. Gaga came out to greet him, as a herald to the others he then journeyed. Beyond Dan and Antu, Nibiru to the abode in the deep proceeded. The fate of lifeless Tiamat, and of Kingu, he then considered. To Tiamat, whom he had subdued, the Lord Nibiru then returned. He made his way to her, paused to view her lifeless body, to artfully divide the monster in his heart he was planning. Then, as a muscle, into 2 parts he split her chest from her lower parts. He separated. Her inner channels he cut apart, her golden veins he beheld with wonder. Trodding upon her hinder part, the Lord her upper part completely severed. The north wind, his helper, from his side he summoned. To thrust away the severed head the wind he commanded, in the void to place it. Nibiru's wind upon Tiamat then hovered, sweeping upon her gushing waters. Nibiru shot a lightning, to north wind he gave a signal. In a brilliance was Tiamat's upper part to a region unknown carried. With her, the bound Kingu was also exiled. Of the severed part a companion to be. The hinder part's fate Nibiru then considered, as an everlasting trophy of the battle he wished it to be. A constant reminder in the heavens, the place of the battle to enshrine. With his mace the hinder part, he smashed to bits and pieces, then strung them together as a band to form a hammered bracelet. Locking them together, as watchmen he stationed them, a firmament to divide the waters from the waters. The upper waters above the firmament from the waters below it he separated. Artful works Nibiru thus fashioned. The Lord then crossed the heavens to survey the regions. From Apsu's quarter to the abode of Gaga he measured the dimensions. The edge of the deep Nibiru then examined. Toward his birthplace he cast his gaze. He paused and hesitated, then to the firmament, the place of the battle. Slowly he returned, passing again in Apsu's region. Of the sun's missing spouse he thought with remorse. He gazed upon Tiamat's wounded half. To her upper part he gave attention. The waters of life, her bounty, from the wounds were still pouring. Her golden veins Apsu's rays were reflecting. The seed of life, his creator's legacy, Nibiru then remembered. When he trod on Tiamat, when he split her asunder, to her the seed he surely imparted. He addressed words to Apsu, to him thus saying, with your warming rays, to the wounds give healing. Let the broken part new life be given. In your family as a daughter to be, let the waters to one place be gathered, let firm land appear. By firm land let her be called. Ki, henceforth her name to be. Apsu to the words of Nibiru gave heed. Let the earth join my family, Ki, firm land of the below, let earth her name henceforth be. By her turning let there day and night be. In the days my healing rays to her I shall provide. Let Kingu be a creature of the night. To shine at night I shall appoint him earth's companion, the moon forever to be. Nibiru, the words of Apsu with satisfaction heard. He crossed the heavens and surveyed the regions. To the gods who had him elevated he granted permanent stations. Their circuits he destined, that none shall transgress nor fall short of each other. He strengthened the heavenly locks. Gates on both sides he established. An outermost abode he chose for himself. Beyond Gaga were its dimensions. The great circuit to be his destiny he beseeched Apsu for him to decree. All the gods spoke up from their stations, let Nibiru's sovereignty be surpassing. Most radiant of the gods he is, let him truly the son of the sun be. From his quarter Apsu gave his blessing. Nibiru shall hold the crossing of heaven and earth. Crossing shall be his name. The gods shall cross over neither above nor below. He shall hold the central position, the shepherd of the gods he shall be. A Shah shall be his circuit, that his destiny will forever be. Now this is the account of how the olden times began, and of the era that in the annals the golden era by name was known, and how from Nibiru to earth the missions went the gold to obtain. The escape of Alalu from Nibiru was its beginning. With great understanding was Alalu endowed, much knowledge he by learning acquired. By his forefather Anshagal of the heavens, and the circuits much knowledge was amassed. By Anshar was knowledge greatly augmented. Of that Alalu made much learning. With the sages he discoursed, savants and commanders he consulted. Thus was knowledge of the beginning ascertained. Thus did Alalu this knowledge possess. The gold in the hammered bracelet was the confirmation. The gold in the hammered bracelet of gold, in Tiamat's upper half, was the indication. At the planet of gold Alalu victoriously arrived, his chariot with a thunder crashing. With a beam he scanned the place, his whereabouts to discover. His chariot on dry land descended. At the edge of extended marshes it landed. He put on an eagle's helmet, he put on a fish's suit. The chariot's hatch he opened, at the open hatch he stopped to wonder. Dark-hued was the ground, blue-white were the skies. No sound there was no one to bid him welcome. Alone on an alien planet he stood, perchance from Nibiru forever exiled. To the ground himself he lowered, on the dark-hued soil he stepped. There were hills in the distance. Nearby much vegetation there was. Ahead of him there were marshes. Into the marsh he stepped, by the waters. Coolness he shuddered. Back to the dry ground he stepped, alone on an alien planet he stood. With thoughts he was possessed, of spouse and offspring with longing he remembered, was he forever from Nibiru exiled? Of that again and again he wondered. To the chariot he soon returned with food and drink to be sustained. Then deep sleep him overcame, a powerful slumber. How long he slept he could not remember. What awakened him he could not tell. A brightness there was outside, a brilliance on Nibiru unseen. A pole from the chariot he extended, with a tester it was equipped. It breathed the planet's air, compatibility it indicated. The chariot's hatch he opened, at the open hatch he took a breath. Another breath he took, then another and another. The air of Ki indeed compatible was. Alalu clapped his hands. A song of joy he was singing. Without an eagle's helmet, without a fish's suit, to the ground himself he lowered. The brightness outside was blinding, the rays of the sun were overpowering. Into the chariot he returned, a mask for the eyes he donned. He picked up the carried weapon, he picked up the handy sampler. To the ground himself he lowered, on the dark-hued soil he stepped. He made his way toward the marshes, dark greenish were the waters. By the marsh's edge there were pebbles. Alalu picked a pebble. Into the marsh he thrust it. In the marsh, moving his eyes glimpsed, the waters with fishes were filled. Into the marsh the sampler he lowered, the murky waters to consider, for drinking the water was not fit. Alalu greatly disappointing. He turned away from the marshes. In the direction of the hills he went. He made his way through vegetation. Bushes to trees gave way. The place was like an orchard. The trees with fruits were laden. By their sweet smell enticed, Alalu picked a fruit. In his mouth he put it. Sweet was the smell, sweeter the taste was. Alalu greatly it delighted. Away from the sun's rays Alalu was walking. Toward the hills he set his direction. Among the trees a wetness under his feet he sensed, a sign of close-by waters. In the direction of the wetness he set his course. In the midst of the forest there was a pond, a pool of silent waters. Into the pond the sampler he lowered, for drinking the water was good. Alalu laughed, an unstopping laughter seized him. The air was good, the water for drinking was fit, there was fruit, there were fishes. With eagerness Alalu bent down, together his hands he cupped, water to his mouth he brought. A coolness did the water have, a taste from Nibiru's water different. Once more he drank, then with fright he asunder jumped, a hissing sound he could hear, a slithering body by the poolside was moving. His carried weapon he seized, a blast of its ray toward the hissing he directed. The moving stopped, the hissing was ended. To examine the danger Alalu stepped forward. The slithered body lay still. Dead was the creature. A sight most strange. Like a rope its long body was. Without hands or feet was the body. Fierce eyes were in its small head. Out of its mouth a long tongue was sticking. A sight on Nibiru never beheld it was. A creature of another world. Was it the orchard's guardian? Alalu by himself pondered. Was it the waters? Master? Himself he asked. In his carried flask he some water collected. With alertness to the chariot he made his way. The sweet fruits he also picked. To the chariot he set his course. The brightness of the sun's rays was greatly diminished. Darkness it was as the chariot he reached. The shortness of the day Alalu pondered. Its shortness him amazed. From the direction of the marshes a cool lightness on the horizon was rising. A white-hued ball in the heavens was quickly rising. Kingu, the earth's companion, he now beheld. What in the accounts of the beginning, his eyes the truth could now see. The planets and their circuits, the hammered bracelet, Ki the earth, Kingu its moon. All created were, all by names were called. In his heart Alalu knew one more truth a beholding needed. The gold, the means of salvation to be found, was needed. If truth be in the beginning tales, if by the waters the golden veins of Tiamat were washed in the waters of Ki, its cut-off half gold must be found. With hands unsteady Alalu the tester from the chariot's pole dismantled. With trembling hands the fish's suit he donned, the fast arriving daylight eagerly awaiting. At daybreak the chariot he exited, to the marshes he quickly stepped. Into deeper waters he waded, the tester into the waters he inserted. Its illuminated face he eagerly watched, in his chest his heart was pounding. The water's contents was the tester indicating, by symbols and numbers its findings disclosing. Then Alalu's heartbeat stopped. There is gold in the waters, the tester was telling. Unsteady on his legs, Alalu stepped forward, deeper into the marshes he made his way. Again he the tester into the waters inserted, again the tester gold announced. A cry of triumph from Alalu's throat emanated. Nibiru's fate in his hands now was. Back to the chariot he made his way. The fish's suit off he took, the commander's seat he occupied. The tablets of destinies that knows all circuits he enlivened. To Nibiru's circuit to find the direction, The speaker of words he stirred up, toward Nibiru the words to carry. Then to Nibiru words he uttered, thus he was saying. The words of the great Alalu to Anu on Nibiru are directed. On another world I am. The gold of salvation I have found. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. The third tablet. Synopsis of the third tablet. Alalu beams the news to Nibiru, reclaims the kingship. Anu, astounded, puts the issue before the royal council. Enlil, Anu's foremost son, suggests on-site verification. Ea, Anu's firstborn and a son-in-law of Alalu, is chosen instead. Ea ingeniously equips the celestial boat for the journey. The spaceship, piloted by Anzu, carries 50 heroes overcoming perils. The Nibiruans thrill by Earth's sight. Guided by Alalu, they splash down and wade ashore. Eridu, home away from home, is established in 7 days. Extraction of gold from the waters begins. Though the quantity is minuscule, Nibiru demands delivery. Abgal, a pilot, chooses Alalu's spaceship for the trip. Forbidden nuclear weapons are discovered in the spaceship. Ea and Abgal remove the weapons of terror and hide them. Earth-Mars connection. 2500s BC depiction. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. Those were the words of Alalu. From dark-hued earth to Nibiru they were by. The speaker beamed. When the words of Alalu to Anu the king were conveyed, Anu astounded were the counselors, amazed were the sages. Alalu is not dead? They each other asked. Could indeed he on another world be living? They with disbelief were saying. Was he not on Nibiru hiding, in the chariot to a place of concealment gone? The commanders of chariots were summoned, savants the beamed words considered. The words from Nibiru did not come from beyond the hammered bracelet. Were they spoken? This was their finding. This to Anu the king they reported. Stunned was Anu. The happening he pondered. Let words of acknowledgement to Alalu be sent. To the assembled he was saying. At the place of the celestial chariots the command was given to Alalu. Words were spoken. Anu, the king, to you his greeting sends. Of your well-being to learn he is pleased for your departing from Nibiru. There was no reason. Enmity is not in Anu's heart. If gold for salvation you have indeed discovered, let Nibiru be saved. The words of Anu Alalu's chariot did reach. Alalu them quickly answered. If your savior I am to be, your lives to save, convene the princes to assembly, my ancestry declare supreme. Let the commanders make me their leader, bow to my command. Let the council pronounce me king, on the throne Anu to replace. When the words of Alalu on Nibiru were heard, great was the consternation. How could Anu be deposed? The councillors asked each other. What if Alalu, mischief, not truth, is telling? Where is his asylum? Did gold indeed he find? They summoned the sages of the wise and learned counseling. They asked. The oldest of them spoke. I was Alalu's master, he was saying. He had hearkened to teachings of the beginning, of the celestial battle. He was learning. Of the watery monster Tiamat and her golden veins he knowledge acquired. If indeed beyond the hammered bracelet he had journeyed, on Earth, the 7th planet, is his asylum. In the assembly a prince spoke up. A son of Anu he was, of the womb of Antu, Anu's spouse. He was the issue. Enlil was his name. Lord of the command it meant. Words of caution he was saying. Of conditions Alalu cannot speak. Calamities were his handiwork. By single combat in wrestling, he the throne forfeited. If Tiamat's gold he indeed had found, proof of that is needed. Is it for protecting our atmosphere sufficient? How through the hammered bracelet to Nibiru can it be brought? Thus did Enlil, the son of Anu, speak. Others many questions also asked. Much proof was greatly needed. Many answers are required. All agreed. The words of the assembly to Alalu were conveyed. a response demanded. Alalu. The words merit pondered, to transmit his secrets he agreed, of his journey and its perils in truth he an account gave. Of the tester its crystal innards he removed, from the sampler its crystal heart he took out, into the speaker he the crystals inserted, all the findings to transmit. Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king, bow to my command. He sternly demanded. The sages were aghast, with weapons of terror. Alalu on Nibiru more havoc caused, with weapons of terror a path through the bracelet he blasted. Once in its circuit Nibiru that region passes, calamities Alalu is amassing. In the council there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter. Anu not by ancestry alone was king, by fair wrestling the throne he attained. In the assembly of the princes, a son of Anu stood up to speak. He was wise in all matters, among the sages renowned he was. Of the secrets of waters he was a master, Ea. He whose home is water, he was called. Of Anu he was the firstborn, to Damkina, Alalu's daughter, he was espoused. My father by birth is Anu the king, Ea was saying. Alalu by marriage my father is. To bring the two clans into unison was my espousal's intention. Let me be the one in this conflict unity to bring. Let me Anu's emissary to Alalu be. Let me be the one Alalu's discoveries to uphold. Let me in a chariot to earth journey, a path through the bracelet with water. Not fire I shall fashion. On earth, from the waters let me the precious gold obtain. To Nibiru back it will be sent. Let Alalu be king on earth, a verdict of the sages awaiting. If Nibiru it will save, let there be a second wrestling. Who shall Nibiru rule? Let it determine. The princes, the counselors, the sages, the commanders heard Ea's words with wonder. Full of wisdom they were, for conflict they solution found. Let it so be, Anu announced. Let Ea journey, let the gold be tested. Alalu a second time I shall then wrestle. Let the winner be on Nibiru king. The words of decision to Alalu were conveyed. He pondered them and agreed. Let Ea, my son by marriage, to earth come. Let gold from the waters be obtained. Let it for salvation on Nibiru be tested. Let a second wrestling kingship by me or Anu settle. So be it. Anu in the assembly decreed. Enlil rose in objection. The king's word unalterable was. Ea to the place of the chariots went. Commanders and sages he consulted. The mission's dangers he contemplated. How to extract and bring the gold he considered. Alalu's transmission he carefully studied. Alalu for more testings the results he requested. A tablet of destinies for the mission he was fashioning. If water be the force, where could it be replenished? Where on the chariot will it be stored? How to force will it be converted? A full circuit of Nibiru did pass in contemplations. A Shah of Nibiru in preparations past. The largest celestial chariot for the mission has been fitted. Its circuit's destiny has been calculated. A tablet of destiny has been firmly fixed. 50 heroes will for the mission be required to journey to earth the gold to obtain. To the journey Anu his approval gave. The stargazers for the journey the right time to begin then selected. At the place of the chariots multitudes gathered, to bid farewell to the heroes, and their leader did they come, bearing eagles' helmets, carrying each a fish's suit. The heroes the chariot one by one entered. The last to embark was Ea. To the gathering he bade farewell. Before his father Anu he knelt down, the king's blessing to receive. My son, the firstborn, a far journey you have undertaken, for us all to be endangered. Let your success calamity from Nibiru banish. Go and in safety come back. So did Anu to his son speak a blessing, bidding him farewell. The mother of Ea, the one called Ninul, to her heart embraced him. Why, after by Anu as a son to me you were given, did he with a restless heart you endow? Go and come back the hazardous road traverse safely. To him she said. With tenderness Ea kissed his spouse, Damkina he without words embraced. Enlil with his half-brother locked arms. Be blessed, be successful. To him he said. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered, to soar up the command he gave. Now this is the account of the journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters was begun. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered, to soar up the command he gave. The commander's seat by Anzu, not by Ea, was occupied. Anzu, not Ea, was the chariot's commander. He who knows the heavens his name's meaning was. For the task he was especially selected. A prince among the princes he was. Of royal seed his ancestry he counted. The celestial chariot he deftly guided. From Nibiru it powerfully soared. Toward the distant sun he it directed. 10 leagues, 100 leagues the chariot was coursing, 1,000 leagues. The chariot was journeying. Little Gaga came out to greet them, a welcome to the heroes it was extending. To blue-hued Antu, the beautiful enchantress, it showed the way. By her sight Anzu was attracted. Let us examine her waters, Anzu was saying. Ea to continue without stopping gave the word. It is a planet of no return, he forcefully said. Toward the heavenly An, the third in planetary counts, the chariot continued. On his side was An lying, his host of moons about him were whirling. The tester's beams the presence of water was revealing, a stop if needed to. Ea it was indicating. To continue the journey was Ea saying. Toward Anshar, the heavens. Foremost prince, he was directing. Soon the ensnaring pull of Anshar they could tell, his colored rings with fear. They admired. Deftly did Anzu the chariot guide, the crushing dangers he cleverly avoided. The giant Kishar, foremost of firm planets, was next to be encountered. Her net's pull was overpowering, with great skill did Anzu the chariot's course divert. With fury Kishar at the chariot divine lightnings was thrusting, her host at the uninvited she directed. Slowly Kishar moved away, for the chariot the next enemy to encounter. Beyond the fifth planet, the hammered bracelet was lurking. Ea his handiwork to set a whirring commanded, the water thruster to prepare. Toward the host of turning boulders the chariot was rushing. Each one like a slingshot stone ferociously at the chariot aimed. The word by Ea was given, with the force of 1,000 heroes the stream of water was thrust. One by one the boulders turned face, a path for the chariot they were making. But as one boulder fled, another in its stead was attacking. A multitude beyond count was their number, a host for the splitting of Tiamat. Revenge seeking. Again and again Ea the commands gave, the water thruster to keep a whirring. Again and again toward the host of boulders streams of water were directed. Again and again the boulders their faces turned, a path for the chariot making. And then at last the path was clear, unharmed the chariot could continue. A cry of joy the heroes sounded, double was the joy as the sight of the sun was now unveiled. Amidst the elation Anzu the alarm sounded, for the path to have fashioned. Excessive waters were consumed, waters to feed the chariot's fiery stones for the remaining journey were not sufficient. In the dark deepness the sixth planet they could see, the sun's rays it was, reflecting. There is water on Lahmu, Ea was saying. Can you bring the chariot down upon it? Anzu he was asking. Deftly Anzu the chariot toward Lahmu directed, reaching the celestial god. Around it he the chariot made circle. The planet's net is not great, its pull is to handle easy, Anzu was saying. A sight to behold was Lahmu, many-hued it was, snow white was its cap. Snow white were its sandals. Reddish-hued was its middle, in its midst lakes and rivers were aglitter. Deftly Anzu the chariot made travel slower. By a lakeside it gently came. Down. Ea and Anzu their eagles' helmets donned. To the firm ground they stepped. Down. On command the heroes that which water sucks extended, the chariots, bowels with the lake's waters to fill. While the chariot was getting its fill of waters, Ea and Anzu the whereabouts examined. With tester and sampler all that matters they ascertained. The waters were good for drinking, the air was insufficient. All's in the chariot's annals recorded, the need for the detour described. With its vigor replenished, the chariot soared up to benevolent Lamu. Farewell bidding. Beyond the seventh planet was making its circuit, Earth and its companion. The chariot were inviting. In the commander's seat Anzu was without words, Ea too was silent. Ahead was their destination, its gold Nibiru's fate for salvation or doom. Containing, the chariot must be slowed, or in Earth's thick atmosphere it shall perish, Anzu to Ea declared. Around Earth's companion, the moon, makes slowing circles. Ea to him suggested. They circled the moon by the vanquishing Nibiru in the celestial battle it. Prostrate and scarred was lying. Having the chariot thus slowed down, toward the seventh planet Anzu the chariot directed. Once, twice the Earth's globe he made the chariot circle, ever closer to the firm land he lowered it. Snow-hued was 2/3 of the planet. Dark-hued was its middle. They could see the oceans. They could see the firm lands, for the signal beacon from Alalu they were searching, where an ocean touched dry land, where 4 rivers were swallowed by marshes. Alalu's signal was beaconed. Too heavy and large the chariot is for the marshes, Anzu was declaring. The Earth's pulling net, too powerful for on dry land to descend it is. Anzu Toa, Ea announced. Splash down in the ocean's waters, Ea to Anzu shouted. Around the planet Anzu made one more circuit, the chariot with much care. Toward the ocean's edge he lowered. The chariot's lungs he filled with air. Into the waters down it splashed. Into the depths it was not sinking. From the speaker a voice was heard, to Earth be welcomed. Alalu was saying. By his beamed words the direction of his whereabouts was determined. Toward the place Anzu the chariot directed, floating as a boat it was upon the waters moving. Soon the wide-ranging ocean, narrow dry land on both sides as guardian, appeared. On the left side brown-hued hills were rising, on the right mountains to heaven their heads raised. Toward the place of Alalu was the chariot moving, floating like a boat upon the waters it was. Ahead the dry land was covered with flooding, marshes the ocean were replacing. Anzu to heroes commands uttered, their fishes' suits to put on he ordered. A hatch of the chariot was then opened, into the marshes the heroes descended. Strong ropes to the chariot they attached, with the ropes the chariot they were pulling. Alalu's beamed words more powerful were becoming. Hurry! Hurry! He was saying. At the edge of the marshes, a sight there was to behold, gleaming in the sunrays was a chariot from Nibiru, Alalu's celestial boat it was. The heroes their paces quickened, toward Alalu's chariot they hurried. Impatient, Ea donned his fish's suit, within his chest his heart was like a drum beating. Into the marsh he jumped, toward its edge hurried steps he directed. High were the marshes flooding, deeper was the bottom than he expected. He changed his gait to swimming, with bold strokes forward he advanced. As dry land he was approaching, green meadows he could see. Then his feet touched firm ground, he stood up, and by walking he continued. Ahead he could see Alalu standing, with his hands with vigor waving. Coming out of the waters, ashore Ea stepped, on dark-hued earth he was standing. Alalu toward him came running, his son by marriage he powerfully embraced. "Welcome to a different planet," Alalu to Ea said. Now this is the account of how Eridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun. In silence did Alalu embrace, with tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head, respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing, more donned fishes' suits, more toward the dry land were rushing. "Keep the chariot afloat," Anzu was commanding. "In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding." Ashore stepped the heroes, before Alalu they were bowing. Ashore came Anzu, the last the chariot to depart. Before Alalu he bowed, with him Alalu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived Alalu words of welcome spoke. To all who were assembled, Ea words of command spoke. "Here on earth I am the commander," he was saying. "On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate." He looked about, for a place for encampment he was searching. Heap up soil mounds fashion there. Ea gave command, an encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing, a reed hut abode by Alalu erected. To Anzu then words he directed, to Nibiru words by beaming deliver, to the king my father Anu, successful arrival announce. Soon the hue of the skies was changing, from brightness to reddish it was turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding, the sun as a red ball on the horizon was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes, of a great calamity afraid they were. Alalu with laughter, words of comfort was saying, "A setting of the sun it is, the ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest lie down, a night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect the sun will an appearance make, on earth it will be morning. Before expecting, darkness came, the heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced, rains the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown, storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot, the heroes hunkered down. In the chariot, the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come, they were greatly agitated. With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared they were, joyful and backslapping. And it was evening and it was morning, their first day on earth it was. By daybreak Ea, the ongoings considered, to separate waters from waters. Heed he was giving. Anger he made of the sweet waters the master, drinking waters to provide. To the snake pond with Alalu he went, its sweet waters to consider. Evil serpents in the pond were swarming. So did Engur to Ea say. The marshlands Ea then contemplated, the abundance of rainwaters he weighed. In Belulu he placed in charge of the marshlands, to mark out the thicket of reeds him he directed. And Kimdu in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to fashion, for the waters that from heaven rain a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated, marsh waters from sweet waters asunder were set. And it was evening and it was morning, the second day on earth it was. When the sun morning announced, the heroes their assigned tasks were performing. With Alalu Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed, all that in the orchard grows, herbs and fruits after their kind to examine. To Isimud, his vizier, Ea questions was addressing. What is this plant? What is that plant? Him he was asking. Isimud, one of much learning, food that grows well he could distinguish, he tore a fruit for Ea, a honey plant it is. To Ea he was saying, one fruit he himself ate. One fruit Ea was eating. Of food that grows, by its good distinguished, Ea the hero guru put in charge. Thus were the heroes water and food provided, satiated they were not. And it was evening and it was morning, the third day on earth it was. On the fourth day the winds ceased blowing, the chariot by waves was not disturbed. Let tools from the chariot be brought, let abodes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula, in charge of mold and brick, Ea appointed, from the clay bricks to fashion, Mushdamu to lay foundations he directed, dwelling abodes to erect. All day the sun was shining, the great light by day it was. By F-time Kingu, earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast, a lesser light to rule the night, among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening and it was morning, the fourth day on earth it was. On the fifth day, Ea Ningirsig, a boat of reeds to fashion commanded, the measure of the marshes to take, the stretch of the swamplands to consider. Ulmash, he who what in the waters swarms knows, who of fowl that fly has understanding. Ulmash as a companion Ea took, between good and bad to distinguish. Kinds that in the waters swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing to Ulmash. Many were unknown, bewildering was their number. Good were the carp, among the bad they were swimming. Enbelulu, the marshland's master, Ea summoned, Enkimdu, in charge of ditch and dike, Ea summoned, to them he gave words, in the marshlands to make a barrier. With cane brakes and green reeds an enclosure to fashion, fish from fish there separate. A trap for carp that from a net could not escape, a place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. Thus were fish and fowl, by their good kinds separated, for the heroes provided. And it was evening, and it was morning, the fifth day on earth it was. On the sixth day, Ea of the orchard's creatures took account. Enursag to the task he assigned, that which creeps, and that which on feet walks to distinguish, their kinds Enursag astounded, of the ferocity of their wildness to Ean, account he gave. Ea Kula summoned, to Mushdamu urgent commands he gave, by F-time the abodes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be surrounded. The heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundations were quickly laid. With reeds were the roofings made, of cut down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu, a beam that kills from the chariot brought over, a speaker that words beams at Ea's abode he set up by F-time, complete was the encampment. For the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Alalu and Anzu the doings considered, all that was done indeed was good, and it was evening and it was morning, the sixth day. On the seventh day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words, a hazardous journey we have undertaken, from Nibiru to the seventh planet, a dangerous way we traversed. At earth we with success arrived, much good we attained, an encampment we established. Let this day be a day of rest, the seventh day hereafter, a day of resting always to be. Let this place henceforth by the name Eridu be called, home in the far away, the meaning thereof will be. Let a promise be kept, let Alalu of Eridu the commander be declared. The heroes thus assembled, in unison agreements shouted. Words of consent Alalu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given, Nudimud, the artful fashioner, let him be called. In unison, the heroes' agreement announced, and it was evening and it was morning, the seventh day. Now this is the account of how the searching for gold was begun, and how the plans on Nibiru made to Nibiru salvation did not provide. After the encampment of Eridu was established and the heroes with food were satiated, Ea the task of gold from the waters obtaining started. In the chariot the firestones were stirred up, its great cracker was enlivened, that which water sucks from the chariot was extended, into the marsh waters it was inserted. Into a vessel of crystals the waters were directed, from the waters the crystals all that is metal in the vessel extracted. Then from the vessel that which spits out the waters to the fishpond spat out. Thus were the metals that were in the waters in the vessel collected. Ingenious was Ea's handiwork, an artful fashioner, indeed he was. For 6 earth days marsh waters were sucked in, marsh waters were spat out, in the vessel metals indeed were collected. The metals on the 7th day by Ea and Alalu were examined. Of many kinds were the metals in the vessel. Iron there was, much copper there was, of gold there was no abundance. In the chariot another vessel, the artful handiwork of Nu Demude, the metals after their kinds were separated. Ashore kind by kind they were carried. For 6 days thus did the heroes toil, on the 7th day they rested. For 6 days were the crystal vessels filled and emptied, on the 7th day were the metals accounted. There was iron and there was copper, and other metals too, of the gold, the smallest pile was accumulated. In the night times the moon waxed and waned, by the name month did Ea its circuit call. At month's very start, its luminous horn 6 days signified, by its half crown the 7th day it announced. A day to rest it was. At midway by a fullness was the moon distinguished, then it paused to become diminished. With the sun's course was the moon's circuit appearing, with Earth's circuit. It was its face revealing. Fascinated by the moon's motions was Ea, its attachment as Kingu to Kihei. Contemplated, what purpose did the attachment serve? What heavenly sign was it giving? A month did Ea the moon's circuit call, month to its circuit he gave the name. For 1 month, for 2 months, in the chariot were the waters separated, the sun, every 6 months, to earth another season gave, winter, and summer did Ea by names them call. There was winter and there was summer, by year of earth did Ea the full circuit call. By year's end of the accumulated gold account was taken, much to dispatch to Nibiru, there was not. The swampland's waters are deficient, let the chariot to the deeper ocean be moved, so was Ea saying. From its moorings was the chariot untied, back whence it came it was shifted. With great care were the crystal vessels stirred up, the salt waters through them passing. Metals by their kinds were separated, gold among them was sparkling. From the chariot of the happenings Ea to Nibiru word did beam, Anu to hear. It was pleased indeed. In its destined circuit Nibiru to the sun's abode was returning, a closeness to earth on its Shah circuit, was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire. Is there enough for sending to Nibiru? He was asking. Alas, not enough was of the gold from the waters collected. Let another Shah pass, let the quantity be doubled. Ea to Anu counselled. From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued, in his heart, Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out, a sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting, of the sky chamber to take charge he appointed, daily in the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. For the sky chamber an enclosure was constructed, by Alalu's chariot was it placed, daily the crystals in Alalu's chariot did Ea study, what by their beams was discovered to understand. Whence does the gold come? He asked Alalu. Where on earth are Tiamat's golden veins? In the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. Over great mountains they roamed, in the valleys great rivers they saw. Steppes and forests below were stretched, thousands of leagues was there reach. Vast lands separated by oceans they recorded, with the beam that scans the soils they penetrated. On Nibiru impatience was growing. Can gold protection provide? Was the outcry increasing. Assemble the gold, on Nibiru's nearing gold you must deliver. So did Anu. Ea command. Repair Alalu's chariot, for returning to Nibiru make it fit for the Shahs. Completion make it ready, so was Anu saying. Ere his father's, the king, words was heeding, the repairing of Alalu's chariot. He was contemplating. As the sky chamber one eve by the side of the chariot they landed, with Abgal the chariot they entered, a secret deed in the darkness to perform.